On this episode of the show, I have with me Ronak Desai. He is co-founder and CPTO of Payment Labs. So we're going to be talking about, well, a little bit about what the industry is that he's in. He'll explain that to us. And we're going to talk about his background, which wasn't in fintech. And he was attracted to a problem that was a little bit old infrastructure with new problems. And we're going to tie in stablecoin AI. And Ronak, I'm excited to have you on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Amir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, before we dive in, tell us what you guys do at Payment Labs.
So we're a fintech specializing in the world of traditional sports as well as emerging sports, esports, the adjacent verticals like creator economy, NIL. But not only do we just kind of do like the broad fintech side, we also do all of the tax compliance with it, along with all the pay support. So you get a full kind of ecosystem solution versus just one piece of the pie.
Interesting. Love it. It's got to be a great space. I guess, you'd mentioned to me, and maybe as a starting point, you'd mentioned that obviously you guys are a fintech startup, but you necessarily didn't have a fintech background. Tell us what attracted you. How'd you find this as a business problem to solve?
So my co-founder, Han Park, was an executive at a very large esports company. And he actually faced this problem where paying all these prize winners, gamers all around the world, he thought, you could just do the traditional thing. Oh, I'll pay via check this one time and I'll pay via bank transfer this time and just whatever to get the money out the door, just get the liabilities off the books. There's multiple problems there. One is that just doing that doesn't really work because you're kind of putting the burden onto the gamer to have all of their information correct. And as you know, they're on the younger side. They're never going to get it right. But on top of that, the liability of taxes still stays on you. And if you don't take care of that from the get-go and make sure you collect all the necessary forms, tax withholdings, etc., you're in a world of hurt later on when the tax authority comes knocking, literally, which in his case, that's what happened.
Interesting. I guess, when you are looking at this problem, you mentioned not just one aspect of this process, and I'm sure people have heard about esports, they've heard about royalties, they've heard about NIL. I guess when you look at the problem and you look at the solution, why do you need to offer that full life cycle product? What makes it challenging to offer like a more of a fragmented component? Because obviously those solutions are out there in the market.
Yeah, of course. So, think about from a risk compliance side, on just the payment side for now, it's all risk based. It's not going to be, oh, well, you're paying, Tony Hawk, who's like a well-known brand or celebrity. It's kind of all agnostic, and it's on that way on purpose, right? To just make sure that you're following all the rules and you're not violating any sort of like discrimination laws and things like that. So from that perspective, and coupling that with spot payments, which is usually what prize money would be, it's not like a salary payment. You're not consistently getting a certain amount per week on an interval. That makes it much easier to like, okay, it's not fraud. It's kind of consistent, etc. Spot payments are very high risk in general. Plus the fact that you're paying a arbitrary random person because when you first, second, third place could be different every time. All of those things coupling together makes it very high risk. So all these bank partners that we have, the way we've established everything, allows for these tournament organizers, league operators to successfully keep paying people out without those headaches, and that requires some expertise and compliance. And then obviously the tax side of things as well, following all the rules and regulations, because even if you solve one end of the problem of just getting the money out the door, you still have the problem of dealing with your tax jurisdiction.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the more nuanced, complicated problems to tackle. I guess when you look at the infrastructure to handle this, and you look at the emerging challenges, right? NIL's fairly recent. Esports has been around for a little while, but it's still figuring out. Its growth is meteoric, but nonetheless, it's still figuring out some the monetization piece. When you look at and then social media, obviously people are finding ways to monetize. When you look at individuals and monetization, and you look at what's been there and where we're going, talk to us a little bit about what the new technology landscape needs to look like to efficiently handle some of these new challenges.
So, I mean, I will say, ironically, all of what we've built so far and thus far is what you would see kind of, let's say, traditionally, like fintech 1.0 in a sense. But a lot of these league operators, tournament organizers, etc., that we're working with are still operating in a very, very manual way. We're talking checks, actual bags of cash, or act like cash to hand out to the prize winners. They're not even going towards, hey, we can at least do PayPal or Venmo or bank transfers, things like that, digitally. Everything's still very analog and fragmented, and it's just an afterthought because again, the main focus is like we need to successfully run the event, and then we'll deal with everything afterwards. But then afterwards, you're taking a little break, you're trying to plan into the next event, and so what we've built so far is digitizing all that, streamlining it all in one shot, and then the next evolution will naturally, as you can see from like the industry trends, would be like stable coins with the coupling of like AI for fraud prevention, things of that nature.
Absolutely. When you look at where with AI coming into play, and we look at how we're going to start seeing economics play out. Obviously, you mentioned your fintech. When we start looking at this problem of AI and detection, and we start looking at where cryptocurrency and blockchain are, when it comes to what you do, I mean, some around esports, some around NIL, like how does all that start changing the model? How does it start? I mean, maybe some new problems as well, because obviously, with AI, do we really know who's doing what and who's doing when? But how's that complicating, I guess, just the industry in general, or how is it adding opportunity rather overall?
I would say on the AI front, the rapid development of all of these various models and everything they can do, right? If you just kind of look a year ago and some of the AI generated videos that would come out, you can clearly tell it was AI because it was very obvious, right? It was still pretty cool technology, but now it's getting so much better that it's starting to bypass IDV, identity verification, which is usually, if you've done it, like take a selfie, take a picture of your front and back of driver's license, etc. And the irony there is also all these companies are using AI to try to detect fraud. So now you have AI committing the fraud, and then you have AI detecting the fraud. And coupling that with all of the stablecoin additions and it being very popular in emerging markets, and stablecoins being more or less, one way. That's the whole point of blockchain and crypto. Trying to detect fraud after the fact, you can't really do that. Like that money's gone. Unlike the traditional bank rails where you can reverse a wire, ACH, etc. You can kind of claw back the money in case is fraud happening. So I would say that is kind of the path we're going down. It's going to be a laggard effect, in my opinion. We're going to see all of that after the fact. Like right now, everything is hot, cool, new technology, but there's obviously going to be people that are going to abuse it, and then you'll see the rollback effects because of that.
Absolutely. I guess when you're looking at what you do now, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of gaming. There is a lot of opportunity in gaming, mobile devices, meta worlds. I mean, all this different stuff. When you start looking at the economics of that, and obviously being able to account for it, and obviously accounting for it, when you start looking at that opportunity, and you look at currently like transacting in dollars, and a lot of people have their own coins. When you look at all that, and you look at what is happening with potentially the involvement of cryptocurrency to make those micro exchanges more efficient, I guess, is there an opportunity to accelerate growth because some of the overhead of just traditional infrastructure may not lend itself well to those type of transactions in general?
Yes and no. I think in our business as it currently stands, I think it would be more of an hindrance. We've added crypto like Bitcoin and Ethereum and some stable coins back in the day. I say back in the day, but like COVID wasn't that long ago when it was like really hot and popular at that time. And it just didn't see a lot of adoption for us specifically. I do see a lot of stablecoin heavy transaction movement in, I would say, like emerging markets or where they're local currency is not very stable, suffers from inflation or things of that nature, all those businesses want to operate in USD. They're doing international business. If they get to hold USD as well and get to do transactions 24/7, 365, it's amazing for like a B2B transfer. And they're willing to give up that percentage because there's a percentage charge, right? The gas fees, et cetera, is a percentage. They're willing to give that up because of the benefits that they're getting. Whereas in our world of a spot payment, things like that, I don't necessarily know if people want to give up a percentage to get that money, a small amount of it, and get to hold it, because not only do you have to pay that price of it, but you have to go and set up a wallet and things of that nature. And it has to be like really, really easy. And the additional thing I kind of see is every central bank seems to want to make their own stablecoin. So next thing you're going to know is like, cool, we have a central currency in every country, but now they're just digitizing it, which has some benefits here. But if everyone's operating on a different stablecoin, then we just did the same thing, just on a blockchain level.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of talking about it. I guess when you are looking at something like NIL that has really grown from, nothing, we didn't have it, to now it's a part of college sports, and you are looking at people who are looking for solutions to that problem. I mean, there are traditional solutions, but obviously there are solutions that are being built or have the capabilities to support. When you look at those type of opportunities, and you guys are obviously a startup, you guys are able to pivot, do you start looking for those opportunities? Do you start looking at your roadmap and looking for those opportunities to move quickly into those, those gaps that are created with these new opportunities?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. So the NIL landscape, and what my co-founder likes to say, because I feel like he's been there since day one of esports, or even before it was called esports, the NIL industry and opportunity is kind of like the Wild West. Things are changing day by day, hour by hour. The laws are changing, all the rules and regulations, all of the, let's say, quote unquote, M&A activity. It's just rapidly changing all the time. And so trying to set something up without being able to pivot really quickly is probably going to set yourself up for failure. The thing we've kind of noticed over time is the big hurdle is really the athletes themselves, because, and I hate to do this, sorry, Lindsay, my co-founder's daughter, when we did our offsite, she had trouble printing something out that she was instructed to do, and didn't understand that the little black box that's under the computer desk is the actual computer. She's never interacted with the desktop computer. And that kind of goes to what these younger athletes and things are experiencing. They grew up with a mobile phone and maybe a laptop. They didn't really have a desktop, dial-up internet, and all of this stuff. And I feel like I'm dating myself here, but all the stuff that we had to grow up with. And so like what they experience, what they want, how they know to do things, you have to kind of come to them. You can't make them come to you. So we've added things like iMessage support, which all of these athletes utilize heavily. If they have a problem, they just start texting you and get support that way. They're not going to open up any sort of official ticket or this or that. They do what's comfortable to them. And we kind of meet them where they are instead of trying to force them to come to us.
If you're going to date yourself, then I don't even want to start talking about historical examples of stuff, because that's just not even going to be fair. But, it's interesting. You mentioned being able to meet them where they're at. And I think that is an advantage that a lot of times startups have of identifying where the problem is, where the stakeholder is, where the customer is, and meeting them there versus trying to have them work their way through their solution. I guess when you kind of look at that, and you guys are obviously, you mentioned your fintech, and you're looking at the growth opportunities. There's so many different examples or places that I could just envision the product going. I guess when you guys are thinking about where the company goes and the opportunity ahead of you, do you need to, you can only do so many things obviously in a day, but how do you start prioritizing those opportunities? Because I think sometimes, the market's big, we could do a lot of stuff, it's emerging, it's growing, it's fast, but also we need to make sure we're not tripping ourselves up by trying to do too much too soon.
Yeah, that's I would say a classic founder dilemma, in the sense where anyone inbound, you just want to kind of do whatever they're asking for to get the business and the focus. So we, like I said, we started in esports, right? From there, naturally progressed to, I say traditional sports, but just sports like stick and ball sports, action sports, etc. And then because of those two verticals that we were in, the natural progression was the kind of creator, because creators are like the athletes off the field, they're earning revenues through sponsorship, influencing, etc., social media posts. The streamers of esports, they're not just playing games all day, they're also kind of a brand persona. So seeing those two things and then NIL, it just kind of all goes together. And the same, I would say, product that we built applied immediately right out of the gate. Obviously, some tweaks and things of that nature, maybe adding some couple of payment methods, rails, tax related things, but it wasn't too big of a ask to go into those verticals. So that'd be kind of the next thing, is trying to identify just growing these verticals and then seeing what else is we can tap into with what we have currently.
Absolutely. I guess, I like, and you guys have been around for a little bit of time. You're not like a brand new company. At this stage where you're kind of, you've built out this roadmap, you've kind of discussed obviously the convergence. When you're looking at kind of the technology landscape and this AI component that's come up, obviously you kind of referred to AI here and there. And this is more of a founder maybe question, but as a founder, do you ever get that tug to be like, I got to make sure to see if am I missing something? Should we be including it? Is it something that we're missing out? Because I feel like almost every startup has tried to pull in some AI narrative because it's almost now table stakes. And sometimes it's like, well, I mean, you may not need it. I guess just from your perspective, seeing what's happening with AI, is there that urge, or I mean, you guys have a pretty set focus on what you're doing anyways?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from the like venture investor community, obviously they're always talking about that. Yes and no. I would say it's very helpful when you're not forcing it. If you're just doing AI for the sake of AI, I mean, you're just adding, revenue to Anthropic and OpenAI and things like that. But if you actually kind of know, like, hey, I'm doing something, even if you're doing it manually, you kind of realize, hey, I can use Claude or Gemini, et cetera, to do this task, and it will do it just as well as I would. That's a perfect opportunity to leverage AI, because that frees you up to go do something else. I'm a big fan of the Eisenhower quadrant, right? Of like what you can delegate, what you should just pass on, what's high priority, et cetera. Having kind of almost somewhat of a clone of you doing work while you're doing other work, it just, obviously it adds efficiency. That's why there's all this talk of like spinning up agents and doing tasks multiple times and connecting the agents and things like that. I like that concept, but just doing that for the sake of doing it doesn't really amount to much.
I love it. Ronak, I was going to say, it's a super interesting space. I mean, I didn't know as much about it until I spoke to you and I did some research, and I'm like, it is definitely growing, especially with all these components we talked about. If somebody does want to reach out to ask you a follow-up question, maybe I missed something or they're just curious about something, what is a good way of connecting with you?
You can just hit me up on LinkedIn. You can just find Ronak Desai Payment Labs, or shoot me an email, ronak@paymentlabs.io. Happy to always respond or chat with whomever's out there that wants to talk.
Love it, Ronak. I definitely appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks, Mir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's it for this episode. We'll be back again, different guest, different topic. Until then, two things. One, Ronak kind of walked us through his company. Obviously, he didn't have a fintech background himself, but it's a very unique problem. Co-founder that was definitely in the right spot, and they have found a opportunity to modernize and solve new problems. And we talked a little bit about the esports component, NIL, talked a little bit about stablecoin, so obviously touched a lot of different areas. So share this episode with somebody else who might find it interesting. Also like, subscribe, comment, let me know how the show's going for you. Until next time, thank you, and goodbye.